Good morning. Happy Thursday. Welcome. We are excited for today's webinar. We hope you are too. As you join, go ahead and take a moment, take a sip of your morning Joe, and then let us know who you are in the chat, where you're from, your organization, maybe something you love about fall. Just a hello as we all get together today. Shauna loves Halloween. I mean, happy fall. Yes. Can you believe it's October already? Fall sweaters. Yes. I can't wait to put on my turtlenecks, folks. All right. We'll give everybody just a moment more to join, and then we'll jump in because we got a lot to cover today. Hey, John, Lake County Community Fund. Stu, Thrive Transformations. Awesome. All right, folks. Welcome. Sit back, relax. Thank you for saying hello in the chat. And let's talk a little bit about prizes. So today we're going to talk about winning strategies. So leveraging prizes for Colorado Gives Day. I had to do some confetti because this is exciting every single year. And these are prize incentives that are the largest in the country. And so you guys are really having access to something special. Let's dig in. So my name is Jordan. Hello. I am the Nonprofit Success Manager for Colorado Gives Foundation, and I am so happy to be here today. A bit of housekeeping before we jump into the content. This webinar is being recorded. The recording and the slide deck will be emailed to you all post-event, whether you RSVP'd or were able to join us live. We ask you guys to remain on mute and use the Zoom chat unless otherwise prompted. And for today, as we talk about these different prizes, I'm going to pause at each section so we can have some Q&A around each prize. And then if you have any other questions around prizes, we're going to go through a lot of resources today, but I always am urging you to use support@coloradogives.org. Next, we want to make sure you guys know that any account information or data used in this demonstration, it's a work of fiction. So if we are doing any demos or taking a look at anything today, it is all fake information to protect donor data and your data as a nonprofit. Today, we're going to be looking at the prize resources. So we've done a lot of work to prepare resources on these prizes to help you leverage them in the best way in 2024. We're going to talk about why prizes matter, so why you should be paying attention to them and leveraging them for your campaign this year. And then we're going to start our prize review. So for part one of this two-part series, we're going to look at incentive fund prize, leaderboards, and power hours. So that is what's ahead for today. And then for next week, for October 10th, we're going to talk a little bit more about prize communication. We're going to talk more about donor segments and how you might apply the prizes and talk about the prizes to your different audience types. And then again, we'll dive into prize review, so specifics on the different prizes available to you this year. We will talk about major donors, so how you're leveraging them to potentially win different prizes. We're going to talk about the recurring gift match next week, the donor prize with Southwest, as well as the trivia prize, and the Good for Business challenge. So that's what you can anticipate for next week. And we hope you'll RSVP. All right. You know me, I like to have the key takeaways up front before we dive into the content. So for today, I want to make sure that you guys know that Colorado Gives Day is designed to give all nonprofits free fundraising tools, as well as access to prize incentives to drive more donations. So this Giving Day exists to drive more awareness and more donations to your nonprofits through the Colorado Gives platform. And that's what we do and work so hard year round to make happen for you. Nonprofit prizes matter to the majority of Colorado Gives Day participants. So we encourage you to leverage these prizes to build your campaign momentum. And then last, you don't need to do everything that we mentioned today or that we mentioned next week. We design these prizes for the over 4,000 nonprofits that are participating and actively fundraising on the platform. That means that not all might apply to your different audience or segments. So pick a prize or pick one or two prizes to really focus on within your communications and then measure the success. So you can iterate in other campaigns. And then of course for Colorado Gives Day 2025, which seems far away, but I think it's going to come up quick. So those are our key takeaways for today. Just a quick reminder here, if you're not familiar with the Colorado Gives Day timeline, early giving begins November 1st. So any donations given to your organization through coloradogives.org starting November 1st count towards your overall campaign totals and will count towards some of these prizes as we see. November 5th, election. November 24th, last day to enroll if you are a new nonprofit. So if you're live and actively accepting funds on coloradogives.org, you do not need to re-enroll every year. But if you are new and you don't have an organization profile on coloradogives.org, you do need to take action and fill out the one question form to get started by November 24th. That does also qualify you for a lot of the prizes. So for new nonprofits, just a heads up. Then we all eat turkey. And then Giving Tuesday is upon us, December 3rd, so not that far away. We'll have some additional messaging in the toolkit to provide to you that allows you to support your campaign through Giving Tuesday on coloradogives.org. December 10th is the big day. So that is when all of the media attention and focus is on coloradogives.org and specifically on nonprofits around the state. This is also when there's a lot of media attention on the leaderboards. It's also when there's a lot of media attention on the power hours, which we'll talk about today. Once Colorado Gives Day is over, everybody takes a 5-second break, and then we jump into end of year fundraising. And so take the momentum from your Colorado Gives Day campaign, all the excitement and trust that you've built by communicating these prizes, and drive that into end of year giving, because we see huge spikes of giving on coloradogives.org in the last week, and especially in those last couple days of the year. A reminder for everybody, whether you're new or you've joined us for the entire webinar series, we have a free webinar series as well as library available to you. So you can scan that QR code and you can RSVP for any of the upcoming Colorado Gives Day webinars, as well as scan what we've been doing up until this point. We have a great webinar library full of marketing advice, as well as fundraising resources. We also have NextAfter webinars. So these are specifically for digital fundraising. So to become a better digital fundraiser, watch these webinars. They are once per month. We post them once monthly. You do not have to RSVP, and they're focusing on getting your organization ready for Colorado Gives Day. They're hosted by Nathan at NextAfter Institute, and we've been having so much fun doing those. And last but certainly not least, everything we talk about today and have been talking about up to this point, it's additional work for you to run a fundraising campaign. And we know that. And so we are offering all nonprofits on coloradogives.org a free subscription to Catchafire. If this is the first time you're hearing about Catchafire, please do check it out and activate your subscription. It allows you to post projects and get expert advice from people who are donating their time and expertise. All right. So let's talk about some of the prize resources available. And this is really important because we listen to your feedback and your questions year over year after Colorado Gives Day and during Colorado Gives Day. And so from that, we are able to build and update and hopefully better communicate each year the prizes that are available to you for Colorado Gives Day. So for the first prize page, you'll find on our nonprofit resources page a section that goes through the actual Gives Day perks and benefits. So this is a great high-level way to understand all of the details about the incentive fund, recurring match, nonprofit prizes, the donor prize, Good for Business Challenge, and Giving Tuesday incentives. So for this prize page, we want you to go here to get a great summary of what is going on. This is also the page where you find the nonprofit toolkit. It's where you find the calendar, which has its own checklist built into it for Colorado Gives Day. So make sure you're checking out the nonprofit resources page. Within the nonprofit resources page, we have linked the official prize page for Colorado Gives Day. So it is live and you can look at it in detail right now. The prize page is going to go through a lot of what we covered today. And so really just mapping out all of the different prize options available and how they work. This is also where we will be posting the prize winners. And so if you have any questions as we get closer to Colorado Gives Day about where the prizes will be posted, it's on this page. Next, this year, we, within our FAQs, which are all live and accessible to you year-round to use coloradogives.org, we've built out a new section specific for prizes because we know these are some of the most frequently asked questions. How can I learn more about prizes? What other offers can I promote to my donors to inspire giving? When will prizes be dispersed? When does Colorado Gives Foundation disperse those prizes? And where will prize winners be announced? We'll go into detail about this today, but how are small, medium, and large nonprofits determined? So these are references that are live and public that you can access at any time to answer those questions. We will be answering much of it today. And last, we have within the nonprofit toolkit a bunch of resources for you to actually talk about these prizes. And so we have social media posts as well as messaging to really help you to create really robust, exciting posts and get people on board to help you win these different prizes, aka donate. All right, let's talk a little bit about why these prizes matter. So why should you be caring about talking about these prizes for Colorado Gives Day? Prizes matter for a number of reasons. What we've seen from our giving event and giving events across the country is that these prize incentives like leaderboards and power hours, they create urgency. They create visibility for your nonprofit. They allow your nonprofit to create a specific appeal. So instead of just saying donate, why is that nonprofit donating? Oh, they're donating to get their donation boosted or to help you win a prize. These prizes also increase donor satisfaction. They also engage a donor at a higher level in your campaign and in your communications. You are inviting these donors to join your campaign and not just passively give when you talk about winning a prize together. Of course, there's media attention. So this is a huge prize pool at stake for you to leverage in your communications. And the media love that as well. And so the more your nonprofits are talking about the prizes, the more the media is picking up and also talking about and featuring your nonprofit's campaign. An increase in giving. So we know that specifically, for example, the power hours increase giving within that hour. So we see huge upticks in donations during the power hours. Not every nonprofit wins that power hour, but every nonprofit wins because there's a huge uptick and increase in donations and interest in giving during those hours to help you win that additional prize. So it's really a matter of give today would be the normal call to action if you didn't have prizes. But with a prize, you can say to a donor, your donation will be boosted. Your donation matters. Your donation helps win $2,000, for example. So it's a really powerful, slight adjustment to your messaging to invite the donor to really participate with you. I did want to talk for just a moment about what we learned last year that donors are interested in as far as Colorado Gives Day. So we found that 83% of donors know who they're going to donate to. So they already know prior to Colorado Gives Day, I'm going to give on Colorado Gives Day, and these are the organizations I give to. That means that your job as a nonprofit for Colorado Gives Day is to increase donor retention, so get them coming back every year, and increase the amount donated for these individuals who are already planning to give. Another interesting thing we learned about donors is that 74% of donors who gave to 10 plus organizations, so these are the people who are donating significant amount of funds, we could call them major donors, they knew exactly who they were going to give to, and this is what they cared about. So for that extra percentage where they didn't know who they were going to give to, they cared about your cause and your mission. So being really clear about what you do and why you uniquely do it, how well they know your nonprofit, how effective you are, how you make a difference, and the population or audience served. So not unexpected, but interesting to know that these are the areas where they need the most clarity in order to make a transaction. And so while we're talking about survey results, I also want to plug that if you are still working on your value proposition for your campaign, so why a donor should give to you, and in relation to that, if you're still working on updating your organization page about section with that value proposition, I've linked a resource here. We have some great trainings on updating your value proposition because that is going to be included in everything you talk about on your campaign, including prizes. Some other interesting results from the survey that are relevant to today's conversation. So most donors agreed that they participated in Colorado Gives Day to be a part of a statewide movement, and that they considered the $1 million incentive fund when choosing to donate. So that's significant. They are paying attention to that $1 million incentive fund because innately donors want the most value for their donation. They want their donation to be boosted. 3 out of 4 donors described the process of participating in Colorado Gives Day as very easy. That's wonderful. 9 out of 10 donors said they felt very confident about which nonprofits to give to when donating during Colorado Gives Day. That ties back to people knowing ahead of time who they're going to donate to. So don't be afraid to start the communications November 1st. People have already made their decisions. It's your job to help bring them along the journey, engage them more, and ideally make them give even more than maybe they had intended. The majority of donors also said that they felt very joyful when donating during the most recent Colorado Gives Day. So I wanted to include this because prizes are joyful. Prizes are celebratory. Prizes are bringing people together to collectively try and win something. And so the whole purpose of Colorado Gives Day is community efforts, community giving, community collectiveness. And we know that people are feeling that on Colorado Gives Day. So how can you bring the prizes and your prize communications into that feeling, into that mix for donors? All right. Let's talk briefly about building campaign momentum, because I think that's one of the most important reasons why we work so hard to provide that incentive fund and the leaderboard prizes and the power hours every year. So this is just an example timeline of what, if I was a nonprofit, I might be considering doing in October and November. Remember, guys, in the calendar resource that we provide you, we have a full calendar and checklist of what you can be doing each month. But for today's purposes, in October, you really should be preparing yourself and your campaign. So creating your value proposition, completing your to-dos on your organization page, customizing your organization page so that it feels like they're donating directly to your organization through Colorado Gives, engaging businesses for the challenge that's upcoming. And then identifying and scheduling a match. So if you have a major donor or a business that wants to give you a matching grant, October is a great time to get that finalized and set up and schedule that match for any time period during Colorado Gives. So that's what I'd be doing in October to get myself prepared. Of course, there's tons of other stuff happening. So do what you can, and I hope we give you a lot of resources to really make a lot of your actions this month easy. Now in November, that's when the campaign kicks off. So there's early giving starting November 1st. This is also when the leaderboards launch. And on November 1st this year is when the 250K recurring match launches. And so earlier than last year. So that's available for you to take advantage of starting November 1st. Now, this is when we give you time to build momentum for your campaign. And building momentum can look a lot of different ways, but the long and the short of it is, it gives you time to provide communications, for folks to take action, and for them to prepare to take action on Colorado Gives Day on December 10th. And then in December, we experienced the First Bank Trivia for a week. We experienced Giving Tuesday on the 3rd. And then on December 10th, Power Hours and Leaderboards. So hopefully that gives you an idea of where you should be focusing your time and efforts in November. Let's talk about what you might be doing. So when you are looking at November, oftentimes it's like, oh, we got a couple days, we'll send some emails out before December 10th. I would say lean into the email marketing strategy. The more emails, the better. This is a busy time of year, and people who participate in Colorado Gives Day have already decided to participate. So again, it's your job to make sure that they are participating by donating to you, and that they are engaging and learning and becoming closer to your organization through your campaign. So in November, as a nonprofit, I would be looking at who donated during that time period last year, because that's low-hanging fruit. I would also be communicating your success from 2023 and your 2024 goals. Start educating folks on what your campaign looks like. And you don't even have to start doing that November 1st. You can start that in October. This might be the time, again, November 1st onward, that you can start identifying the folks within your network who might be good monthly givers and asking them to set up a monthly gift. Great. Some people love to set it and forget it. And so they can do that early on during November. It's also a time period when you should be encouraging participation with friends and family. So not only are you asking your donors to give, but secondarily, share. Invite your friends, invite your family in, create a peer-to-peer fundraising page, whatever that looks like. We know that people feel more connected when their friends and family are also participating in Colorado Gives Day. That was another learning from the survey. This is when you should be defining milestones for your donors, what you want them to take action and do, and also defining the milestones for your campaign. So working that into your communications. This is also a great time period to be engaging major donors. Taking a handle of who is a major donor, who might be a major donor, and understanding how you might leverage those major donors for prizes or for your overall campaign. So building momentum in November is really important because you want to prepare people to take action when you ask them, for example, to give from 7 to 8 a.m. on December 10th for a power hour. All right, we're going to go through the first prize, and then we'll take a pause and answer some questions. All right. So today we're going to be reviewing the nonprofit prizes as well as the incentive fund prize. I wanted to start out this discussion with the idea of how you might whittle down what prizes you're focusing on. I'm calling it the 3-question prize rubric. You can call it whatever you'd like, but it's really just taking a moment to look at all the prizes that we are offering and say, what makes sense for my nonprofit? So who in my nonprofit's audience best fits this prize appeal? Because it might not be everybody. For example, if you're taking advantage of that $250,000 recurring gift match, not everybody's going to be a recurring giver. So you might have a more effective message if you can whittle down and segment the people who are most likely to take that action. When in my campaign should the prize be communicated and leveraged? So again, we're going to talk today about the different schedule of these prizes and when you might take advantage of them. And it's really great to make sure mapped out in your communication strategy when you're going to start asking people to take certain actions around prizes or anything else related to your Colorado Gives Day campaign. And last, how does this prize reflect my campaign value proposition and my campaign goals? So how does getting more monthly givers affect my overall campaign totals and my goals and help me to reach my goals? So just thinking through which prizes are really maybe the best fit. Of course, if you're a nonprofit and you're like, I'm going to talk about them all, great. Just make sure that when you are talking about them all, it's scheduled and strategic because you do not want to overwhelm donors. You want to make sure there's clarity around who you are and the action that you want them to take. And then just a reminder, folks, as we talk about any of these prizes, we are always striving to provide the most equitable of prizes so that the most nonprofits can win prizes that really will make a difference overall in your mission. So you won't win every prize as a nonprofit, but every prize offered can be used to engage with donors and drive more dollars. And so that's the real crux of why these prize incentives are offered each year. First, let's talk about the incentive fund. So what is the incentive fund? So it is a fund that has contributors, many, that is $1+ million each year. Every donation that a donor makes to your nonprofit through Colorado Gives during the Colorado Gives Day time period is boosted by that incentive fund. And that incentive fund is one of the largest in the country. So you guys have access to an incredible resource to leverage in your marketing and your communications. It works by math, really. All nonprofits receive a percentage of the fund, and that percentage that they receive is equal to the amount that they raise for Colorado Gives Day. And so if you raise 10%, you get 10% of that incentive fund. And so based on your performance on Colorado Gives Day and the overall total raised, that is how the amount of the incentive fund is determined per nonprofit for your organization. Now, that's for you to know. That is not necessarily for all of the donors to know. What donors need to know is that each of their donations is boosted by this incentive fund by giving to you for Colorado Gives Day. So these details are really for you. Just a note that I think keep it simple with donors. They understand how something is amplified or something is boosted. And so that would be the language that I would suggest using for the incentive fund. Now, this incentive fund starts November 1st through December 10th. And so this is a fund and an incentive that applies throughout the entirety of Colorado Gives Day. What's the appeal to the incentive fund? So what would you be saying if you were talking to donors in your newsletter or in a specific email campaign about the incentive fund? Again, I think you can keep it really simple because that is going to translate for donors. Your donation today will be boosted by the 1 million plus incentive fund for Colorado Gives Day. And so keeping it simple, but reassuring folks that, hey, you are getting more impact by donating during Colorado Gives Day. Who is the audience? For this one, it's every single person. And that's because it applies to all donations, no matter the size. And so this should be weaved into all of your communications, especially your communications on the front end. So early November, reassuring folks that these actions that they are taking are having an amplified effect. When should you as a nonprofit be talking about it? So similarly, it's a universal appeal to share this $1 million plus incentive fund. Give and your gift will be amplified today. So if you're going to choose one prize to talk about, it's going to be this one. This is also what donors flagged as recognizing. It's a consideration for them when they are donating through Colorado Gives and for Colorado Gives Day. Just an FYI for all nonprofits, this question always comes up, and it should, because you want to know when those funds are going to be received for what you won through the incentive fund. So just an FYI, your share of the incentive fund will be included in the Colorado Gives Day disbursement in December. All right, so I'm going to pause here. Let's take a couple questions, if there are any, about the incentive fund.
Okay, I've got some questions from the chat here. So first, there's several clarification questions about the recurring match. So first, Can you give the deadline and timeline for people to donate to get the recurring match?
Yep, we will talk about that next week in more detail. But in summary, with the recurring gift match, it starts November 1st until the $250,000 runs out. And so that could be 2 weeks, 2 days, probably not 2 days. So it really gives you some time and space in November to be asking people to set up recurring gifts.
Great. And then also for the recurring match, people wanted to clarify, does that mean that if we have 10 new recurring donations, all those first 10 gifts will be matched up to 100 or only one of them?
If a donor sets up a new recurring gift to your nonprofit, up to $100 of that recurring gift can be matched. And so go ahead and use those resources that we dropped in there. The recurring gift match, which we'll talk about in detail, it's already public and defined on the nonprofit resources page for you. But yes, great questions, and I'm really excited to talk about that next week.
And then also a clarification. So the up to 100 is per individual, and the 250K total is new recurring givers.
Yep, go ahead and Katie, if you could drop in the resources page so they can look at the description of the recurring gift match. I want to make sure we're focusing on the incentive fund for today.
Okay, great. I will drop that in the chat. And then what is the average match percent from the incentive fund received by participating nonprofits? And does it amount to more than the fees on the platform?
Good question. So as you can imagine, every nonprofit's campaign is unique and different and fluctuates year to year. But generally what we see is that at the very least, the nonprofit's transaction fees are more than covered through the incentive fund. But of course, that's not every scenario. In some scenarios, nonprofits blow it out of the park and have a great big year and get more, a larger piece of the incentive fund pie. So it really varies every year. I couldn't give you an exact percentage, but I can say that on average, it's at the very least covering those transaction fees and usually more. Good question.
Great. And then do you have any resources discussing how to encourage a positive fundraising culture among staff?
Ooh, that is not a topic we have breached because typically we're doing tactical marketing and fundraising strategy. But I love the idea. Maybe we should chat. I don't have one accessible, but I think generally what I've heard is that typically you need buy-in from leadership, right? And so we provide some resources and templates that can allow you to talk about the benefits of Colorado Gives Day to your leadership. And then buy-in from staff, I think it's as much as making sure to carve out 20 minutes in the next staff meeting or the next board meeting to talk about Colorado Gives and to have a clear way that your staff can participate. Maybe they are creating an individual fundraiser page. Maybe they are helping to share your page and URL of your organization for Colorado Gives Day. So just, I would say, carve out time with your staff and your board members and have a clear call to action and maybe even some language drafted that they can use to easily participate. Good question.
And then people are wanting some clarification on Colorado Gives processing fees. So we have one question, which is, does Colorado Gives Day platform take a percentage of each donation on top of the credit card processing fees? And then another question is, I'm trying to understand your platform fees. Do you know what percentage Colorado Gives Day donors opt to cover the full fee?
Yeah, good questions. So all of those questions were covered in the basics webinar, which is available on the platform. So we go into great detail about the fees and why we have industry low fees. I'll tell you that generally the fee structure is that we present 3.99% to donors. About 93% of donors cover fees, meaning that only 7 to 10% of the time you ever incur a fee as a nonprofit. When we do retain an amount from your donation, it's 2.05%. And so that's industry low, and that's across multiple payment methods. Your effective fee rate on the platform on average, so a nonprofit typically is experiencing on coloradogives.org, 0.43% as far as per transaction fees. So incredibly low, almost 0%. And so be reassured that by leveraging Colorado Gives, there's nothing sneaky about it. We are fully transparent about our fees and how they are covered, and you're getting a great deal. Good question, guys.
And then we have some people wanting to know some stats from last year. So we have how much did Colorado Gives Day raise last year? Also, how many nonprofits participated in Colorado Gives Day last year? And then people were also curious about the winners from last year.
Totally, yeah. So $54 million raised last year, incredible amount of money. Just under 4,000 nonprofits participated last year. So we've definitely seen an increase, as we do every year, of new nonprofits joining the platform. And then what was the last question there?
The last one was, can we see the winners from last year?
Oh, I'll include that in the October 10th webinar if that's important to folks. I'd love to shout them out again. Everybody did an amazing job. So yeah, that's a great suggestion. I'll include that next week.
And then the last question that I'm seeing here is, did I understand correctly that you have language canned for us to suggest to leadership for Colorado Gives? Can you link to that?
Sure. So our toolkit, which we can link to, has a bunch of messaging and resources and talking points about Colorado Gives Day. Also, the About page on coloradogives.org, which we can also drop in there, does a great job at just explaining who we are, the importance of the giving event, and some details that might be helpful to share with your leadership team.
And then last one, I have lots of feedback in the chat for you to look over that's just about, supporting smaller nonprofits and how they benefit. And I also have someone asking, does this make sense to participate for a small nonprofit?
Oh my gosh, yes. Especially for small nonprofits, we see a huge increase in giving once they start participating in Colorado Gives Day, and more importantly, once they start leaning in and really strategizing around the campaign. This is an incredible opportunity for nonprofits, especially small and medium, to get discovered. We also have leaderboards, which bubble you up and create more visibility. We are doing an overarching statewide marketing campaign to drive new donors to the platform. And so there are only benefits to any size organization participating in coloradogives.org. Does that help answer that question?
I think so. And then similar related question, Emily is saying that our nonprofit is just over the line to qualify as medium. So we're so much smaller than most of the orgs in our category. Would you say this probably means it's not worth going for the prizes based on our size? It seems like we wouldn't have much of a chance on leaderboards since we're so much smaller than others in our category.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm so glad it was brought up. And so when you are considering your chances, that is not why you play the lotto. That is not why you achieve or want to win. So I want you to reframe how you're thinking about prizes and how you're thinking about your Colorado Gives Day campaign. These prizes, there are going to be nonprofits that win them. But the value of these prizes is that you are using them to drive excitement to engage donors in a new way for Colorado Gives Day. And so ideally, yes, nonprofits are going to win these prizes, and we make them as equitable as possible so that across small, medium, and large, everybody has a chance. But the importance of these prizes is how you work them into the communications to excite and compel donors to give, because ultimately that's what we want. Of course, an extra $2,000 if you win that power hour is amazing. But the ultimate and value is that you got 20 new donors in that hour that hadn't gave in the past year. So that's how I would kind of just shift your mindset about these prizes to make sure that you're using them as a tool, just like all the other tools that we provide you, to have an effective and dynamic and exciting campaign. Good question.
Okay, and that's all we have for now, Jordan.
All righty. Let's keep going. Let's talk about leaderboards first. So leaderboards, we had them for the first time last year, and it went awesome. Really, we want these leaderboards to be available, so we can equitably and visually award prizes and excite donors. But also, we want these leaderboards because they are searchable. People can click directly into your organization from a leaderboard, and you can also screenshot them and talk about your placement in the leaderboard to get your donors and supporters excited. So these leaderboards are multifaceted in that you can use them in different ways for your campaign to keep people posted on your progress and get them excited as we head towards Colorado Gives Day. So this year we have a first place grand prize. And so these leaderboards are broken up into small, medium, and large, which we'll talk about. These leaderboards will be visible starting November 1st, and there will be 3 first place prizes, a small, a medium, and a large. The first place prize is $10,000. So a small nonprofit, a medium nonprofit, and a large nonprofit will each win $10,000. They'll be able to win that $10,000 by raising the most online. So leaderboards only count online amounts raised through Colorado Gives Day. New this year, in addition to a grand prize, we have a second place prize. And so for this year, a small nonprofit, a medium, and a large will each have the opportunity to win a second place prize of $5,000. These leaderboards, like I said, people can engage with them. They can click and search They can expand these leaderboards. And so they're a dynamic way to get people involved and excited, no matter what your placement is on the leaderboards. As I mentioned, this FYI here, leaderboards are live starting the 1st of November. There's no additions to the leaderboards after November 24th. And so similar to what I mentioned about no new nonprofits can join after November 24th, we can't add new nonprofits to the leaderboard. And like I said, use these visual leaderboards as motivation and as milestone markers. Take a screenshot and share it to build momentum. So that is the summary of these leaderboards. Let's look a little deeper. So as I mentioned, and as you all mentioned, we have a small, a medium, and a large leaderboard. Nonprofits are placed into these categories based on the revenue as reported under their EIN with the Secretary of State, the IRS, or in the case of some churches, on their Colorado Gives profile. So the majority of the data that we are getting is the most recent data from the IRS or Colorado Secretary of State in order to bucket everybody into a small, medium, or large category. The small category is nonprofits with less than $2,000 in total revenue. Medium, between $2,000 and $999 in total revenue, and then large is over $1 million. We don't anticipate that those levels will change or amounts will change. And we will be splitting the nonprofits up as equitably as possible between those 3 buckets or leaderboards. As an FYI to your category based on total revenue, there are no changes to small, medium, or large revenue category. So no matter your scenario, we are going directly off of the reported information from the Secretary of State or IRS. That is most recent. One other thing I'll mention here while we're talking about the small, medium, and large designation is that you'll see this now reflected in the search of coloradogives.org as well. So we're showing small, medium, and large both as leaderboards for Colorado Gives Day and also year-round. And for Colorado Gives Day, donors can now search in the filters for a small, a medium, or a large nonprofit to give back to. Last thought here around leaderboards and how you make sure that you're qualifying. So any nonprofit on coloradogives.org is eligible for the leaderboards, as long as the following is true. Your nonprofit must have an organization page on coloradogives.org. So you got to have a page in order to participate. Your nonprofit must have their to-dos complete on your organization page, and that's in order to accept donations and be included in the leaderboards. If there are any new nonprofits enrolling, they must do so by November 24th to participate in Colorado Gives Day on December 10th. So that does also affect the leaderboard entries. So leaderboards are a great universal way to help communicate your campaign milestones, quick snapshot of a visual for social media, and a way to invite people into your campaign and what's going on. All right, I'd love to pause and see if there are any questions on the leaderboards.
One question is, would total revenue include grant money?
I would have to double check just if that line item on your 990 includes grant money. So we can talk offline, but I won't be able to answer that in real time.
And then that's all I have in the chat, but I can give people an opportunity to come off mute in case there's any other questions.
Yep, questions about leaderboards. Okay, awesome. Let's keep going. Next, I want to make sure we talk about power hours. Power hours are super exciting and a great opportunity to really rev up the energy of your campaign. These are available on December 10th, on Colorado Gives Day. There are 15 total prizes, and each of the prizes are $2,000 each. And this is how it works. So 15 nonprofits can win an extra $2,000 in prizes for Colorado Gives Day, so on December 10th. Each power hour, so each hour we have listed, nonprofits will be associated with a small, a medium, or a large leaderboard. The nonprofit that is ranked number one after that hour, having raised the most during that power hour, they will win the $2,000. So this is the same experience that we had as last year. We give you guys the materials in our toolkit to talk about the power hours. We also give you visuals to post about it on social media. And then we want you to be considering maybe what hours makes the most sense for you to focus on for Colorado Gives Day. Just an FYI here, nonprofits can only win one power hour, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try for several. Have 2 power hours in your back pocket. Nonprofits can win a power hour prize and a leaderboard prize. These are the hours of power. And so we're not naming these, but I did insert this here. Oops, sorry. I did insert some context here just to give you an idea of how you might wake people up and ask them to give from 7 to 8 a.m. So we scheduled that power hour in the early morning so people could make donations before they got to work. The 10 to 11 a.m. hour is one of the biggest power hours each year. It's the most active time people are at a computer. Makes sense. The 3 to 4 p.m. hour is a new hour this year. We want you to be catching them before they drive home, before the commute. Last year, this power hour was from 4 to 5. And we found that the 4 to 5 p.m. hour was when people were actually on the road, likely commuting, or not necessarily taking action in that hour. And so you'll see that this year we bumped it up, and that 3 to 4 p.m. hour should give you more time to activate folks before they hop in their car to head home. Everybody has dinner, and then after dinner is the 7 to 8 p.m. hour. And this is when you can ask people, hey, after dinner, we donate. So again, encouraging them to give during this hour to help you win that prize. And then the 10 to 11 p.m. hour is really the last push towards your goal. So this is when you go crazy, you're picking up the phone, your board members are emailing and texting. This is where you can have that last hurrah and excitement before the end of Colorado Gives Day. Now, these are just hours on a slide deck, but really these are moments where your nonprofit can take advantage of this messaging and this hour to have high touch point, high engagement with your donors. Again, inviting them into the campaign, sharing in that excitement with them, and then telling them the results. As I mentioned, in the toolkit, we have messaging to help you talk about these power hours. And with that, we also have images that you can adjust and customize to your nonprofit to post on social or add to your email communications. Some tips regarding power hours to help drive donations. My advice might be to choose maybe 2 power hours that your nonprofit is going to focus on to drive more donations. Now, you don't have to choose just 2, or you could only just focus on 1. But I'm saying if you're doing the preparation to get everybody excited about 1 hour, you might as well iterate that in another hour because you might not win in that first hour. So there's some strategy and thought into how you might get people to give in multiple hours. We want you to make sure that you're thanking your donors and posting your Power Hour efforts and your success to keep them engaged. So no matter if you won or if you were close or if you were not close to winning that Power Hour, make sure that you're taking that hour of donors and you're saying, thank you for taking action in this hour. You have real-time donations reports within coloradogives.org. So you can take and see who donated in that hour of Colorado Gives Day and very quickly send them an email. Download that report, send them an email. So just think about how you're engaging with and celebrating people who are participating in these power hours with you. We want you to tell your supporters your strategy. So don't keep it a secret. Again, this November time period is when you can start building momentum and talking about your campaign strategy. So tell them which hours you're going to be focusing on. Invite them into the campaign. Focus on those who have not given yet in 2024. So for retention purposes, you can take a look and very quickly again see in coloradogives.org via the retention report who has not given in 2024 but did give in 2023. So that's another report you can really easily download and say, okay, I'm going to target these people for our Power Hour on December 10th because they haven't given yet. It's a really powerful message. And so the thought is that if someone didn't give yet from last year, a more powerful and specific message might help them convert to take action. We also don't want you to forget about those who gave already. Maybe they gave in early November or they set up a recurring gift. That's okay. They will still be compelled to give again to help you win that prize. And so don't totally write off people who have already given to your campaign. I would just make sure that you're being smart about when and how you ask them to act again. Of course, emails, phone calls, social posts are the best way to excite donors about the Power Hour. And I heard some great stories from 2023 about people actually picking up the phone and calling people and having amazing and exciting experiences with their donors while they were asking them to give during a certain hour. So again, yes, Colorado Gives Day is about raising money and about prizes, but it's also about building those relationships and connecting with the people who want to give back to you during this statewide movement. And the last thing I'll say here, make it fun and keep it authentic. So yes, these are power hours, but you can call them whatever you want. You could call them a happy hour and meet all your board members at your local bar. We don't care. Whatever you think resonates the most with your donors and supporters, use that to promote these prizes and specifically the power hours. All right. And so I do want to make sure before we say thank yous that we have any questions specific to Power Hour strategy.
I've got a couple of Power Hour questions. First, are there any prizes based on number of donations versus the total value of those donations to encourage more small gifts and more participation?
Yeah, great question. Not for this year, but it is always a consideration. So we take great care every year to listen to donors through the survey, to listen to nonprofits through your survey, to cultivate the questions that we hear about the prizes and make decisions each year as to how we offer them to be the most equitable to all. So I love that suggestion, and it's certainly something we can consider for 2025.
And then my next one is, does a nonprofit win a Power Hour as a result of a drawing, assuming they brought in donors during that particular Power Hour?
Good question. So a power hour is truly based on how much your organization raises in that hour. And so a leaderboard will appear for the 7 to 8 a.m. hour. And if you're at the top of the leaderboard at the end of that hour, you're going to win that prize. And it is based on amount raised. Does that help answer that question?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's all I got. I can give people a chance to unmute and ask any other questions they're still thinking about, but that's all I have from chat.
I saw a good one in here. I see from Erin. She says, "Hi there. Can you remind me in which past webinar recording I can find how to create a leaderboard?" That's a great question. So the leaderboards that I'm talking about are leaderboards at the coloradogives.org level. So you don't have to worry about those. We'll make those. We manage those. Now, you guys do have access to leaderboards. You can create a team page, which is a type of fundraising page, or an event page. So both of those have leaderboards on them, which could be a great way for you to manage peer-to-peer fundraising for Colorado Gives Day. Or maybe it's just to track how much your board members raise on a public-facing page. But yes, a team page, or my favorite, an event page, would be where you could create your own leaderboards. Good question.
And then I just got another question. Will the next webinar have more information about the trivia nights with First Bank?
Correct. Yep. So webinar next week will go into detail about recurring gifts. We'll talk about the Southwest Donor Prize. We'll talk about the Trivia Prize with First Bank. And anything that I missed today and that I'm burning to tell you, I'll make sure to include it next week. Thank you all for joining us today. It's a pleasure, and we'll talk soon.